Those are the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Hello, everybody. Welcome inside a Monday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. Let me put them up in the corner so you never forget who our wonderful sponsors are. As soon as I find their picture, there's Greenwood. Boom. Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town up in that top right corner. We thank them for their constant support of not just this show, but our YSN family and all the things we do at YSN. We couldn't do them without definitely Greenwood and all of our other wonderful sponsors. But this show brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austin Town. They go the extra mile for you. We try our best to do the same here on Running Point. As you can see, Ty Bartelli, who is usually with us on Monday, not here today. He is taking his finals. It is his final week of school. He walks graduation on Saturday, so we wish him the best of luck in his final push forward. He has a couple of finals today he's taking care of. He should be back on Friday to have a show for you on Friday the 16th, which I think is going to be a day before he walks a graduation. So maybe we'll have a little bit of a celebration for good old Ty on Friday. When we see him again. As for today, we have a couple of in the can interviews we're going to be able to play for you guys. Coach Nick Blanche had a chance to talk with him for episode 2 of Coach's Corner yesterday. Going to play him, and then Ty Bartelli, you're still going to hear from him because he got a chance to catch up with Aaron Agresta from Valley Christian Girls Basketball. So we're going to talk to hear from both of those guys a little bit later on in the show. We're going to go over the power rankings that have been released yesterday after, I guess you could say, week 1 of everybody being active in basketball. You know, all the boys games are started now. All the boys teams have officially kicked off their season, and the girls have been in season for about 2 or 3 weeks. So everybody now is officially started, officially has games under their belt, which means we can officially start to, wade through who our voters think are the top 10 teams in the area. And that again is so many voters, and that's what makes it fun. Everyone's voting for different reasons, different criteria, and it all goes into the scoring system. So we'll go over both the power rankings. Week 1, we had the preseason power rankings a little bit earlier on, but this is officially the week 1 power rankings that are live, and we'll go over those in just a bit. But before we do all of that, want to recap the great weekend we had on the network and otherwise. We had basketball on Friday and Saturday. A lot of final scores coming through. We will start on Friday, rewind all the way back for you. East Palestine gets the win over Latonia, 48-29. These are all boys basketball scores, by the way, for Friday. East Palestine got that win, 48-29. Great win for Coach Reynolds and the Bulldogs as they push forward and get a win inside of the conference. I was in Crestview, and this was a fun one. Springfield and Crestview squared off in a crossover MVAC battle. Springfield got jumped ahead and was up 26-10 after one quarter. Shondell Gardner had a really good first quarter. Crestview had no answer for him in the first frame. He scored 16 out of their first 26 points. It looked like it was going to be all Springfield, but then Crestview reversed the script and held Springfield to 3 points in the second. Actually held them to less points in the last 3 quarters than they had the entire first quarter. So some adjustments were made in that in that coach's huddle for Crestview. They definitely did a really good job, got back to it, got the lead in the third quarter and never really let it go. Springfield kept it close. It's not like Crestview ran away with the game. They're late. James West hit 2 free throws. He had a really good game, put Crestview up by 2. It was tied at 48. Springfield had one more possession with about 6 seconds left. Couldn't really get anything to fall, and then Crestview came down, hit a couple of free throws to ice the game away, 52-48. What a game in Rebel Country, though. James West was the leader for Crestview, and on the other side, Shondell Gardner had a great game for Springfield. He finished with a game-high 24 as the Tigers fall. Their second really close game dropped in a couple of days. So Springfield going to look to get back to winning this week and shake off the tough start. As we go into other finals, Cheney was able to take it to Howland 64-46. Remember that score because it'll come into play when we talk about the power rankings in a little bit. We also have Indian Creek beating Beaver Local 60-45. Tough one for the Beavers. An offensive battle between Struthers and South Range went the Wildcats' way, 77-69. We have Badger, who has just looked so impressive, 71-30. They get the win over Chalker. We have Brookfield getting the win in Mineral Ridge, 71-59. Big win for them. Fitch was able to beat Mooney, 48-35. They were able to pull away late. And impressive start to the season for the Falcons for sure. We had Girard on Friday night. Edge out Niles, 45-41. Big win for Girard. Columbiana got the win over Wellsville on the road, 50-47 in the EO8C. Also, Poland gets the win over Lakeview in the NE8, 68-39. We have Jefferson making a statement in the NE8 with a 30-point win to open up their conference slate, 70-40. They beat Hubbard. Liberty, they welcomed in Hoban, and I give props to Liberty to facing that challenge and not shying away from anybody. Hoban came into Liberty and won 81-40, but Liberty was exposed to a level of basketball that is going to get them ready for district. I don't think anyone in Liberty's district is going to really come close to the level of basketball that Hoban can play. So Liberty knows what it looks like, and hopefully they can take that in and learn from that 41-point loss. I mean, who cares, right? At the end of the day, everybody gets into the tournament anyway. So who cares if you have one bad loss to a really good team? It's not going to really matter if it helps you grow and helps you be better. So, yes, it's a tough one for Liberty, but I don't think they'll have that hurt their confidence in any kind of way. They're going to be okay. And I think as long as they realize what that was and what it was for, what that game was meant to be, they can move forward and really, really do some damage. They have a lot of talent on that team, and they're going to be okay. Like I said, their district is going to be something they can compete in, and definitely if they kind of reflect later on the season in February, if they're able to reflect back, hey, remember when we played Hoban in December, and remember what caliber basketball they were able to play in, what it takes to kind of compete with them and what it takes to score on them. I think that'll be interesting if Liberty's able to do that and keep their confidence. On the girls basketball side in the Cuyahoga Valley Conference, remember both those that conference plays their girls games on Fridays and Tuesdays for the first half of the season. So Orange was in action and they lost to Perry 78-45. Tough one for the Lions. In the other side of the CVC, Edgewood got the win over Hawken 55-43. Edgewood girls still undefeated on the season. They are now 6-0, and that might reflect in our power rankings if you stick around for a little bit to check those out. Excuse me for a second. Whew. So those are the two girls' scores from Friday. Orange loses to Perry. Edgewood beats Hawken. Then we go back to boys basketball. Louisville able to cap off a big win over Boardman, 51-35 on the road. Big win for the Leopards. First big road test in our area, at least. I think they come back down at least one more time before the season is over. So those are the finals for Friday. The one that stuck out for me, I think Crestview is a lot more impressive than people give them credit for. But other than that, I think Louisville proved, to me at least, that they can win a game where their offense isn't clicking on all cylinders. Boardman's defense did a pretty good job slowing them down a little bit. 51 points is not what we're used to with the Leopards. They're usually a high-flying offense. But the great teams were able to win in multiple ways. And Louisville kind of proved that, hey, if you want to slow down the game and not let us score as much, our defense can hold you down. Boardman's a tough offense to stop. And the Leopards can win in multiple ways. And the teams that can win in different ways are usually the teams that are able to make tournament runs. Because, obviously, if you go into the tournament and you're a team that lives and dies by how well you shoot, you never know. You could have one night where your shot's not falling, and then all of a sudden, you get blown out and you get out of the tournament because you had one night where your shooters just weren't putting down shots. You have to be able to score like that, have shooters like that. Well, Louisville definitely does with Hayden Nigro and Will Jancic and company. Definitely have players that can score, but you got to be able to win when it's not going your way, when the offense isn't clicking. Basketball is a sport where you can control as much as possible, but at the end of the day, you're letting a ball go and you're hoping that it goes into a circle, right? That is barely bigger than the ball. I think maybe I don't think even two balls can fit in the circle. So, you're throwing a ball into a circle and you're hoping it goes in. And now the greatest shooters have great technique and they control as much as they can. But at the end of the day, you're letting it fly and you're hoping that it goes in. That's why we see all the time at any level, whether it be NBA, college, high school, middle school, whatever level you want to talk about. We see a lot of times good shooting teams have those off nights because at the end of the day, you can have as good of a shot as possible, but sometimes the shots just don't fall. That's just the reality. And Louisville proved on Friday that they can go up and they can have a team slow down the game a little bit. They can have a team slow down their offense a little bit, and they can still rely on their defense, find ways to win, and win handedly too. 51-35. That's a big win for the Leopards. So that was my biggest takeaway from Friday. That, and I think, like I said, I think Crestview has a lot of pieces to really compete in that MVAC grade tier. I know a lot of people are talking about Garfield and Brookfield in that MVAC grade tier on the boys' side, but I wouldn't count out the Rebels. They have good rebounding down low in Kirkland Miller and Wyatt Miller, both rebounding really well. They have James West is a great guard. He was able to score a lot against Springfield. I think they have pieces to really be a good basketball team. So I would watch out for the Rebels. Not a lot of people talking about them on the boys' side this year for basketball. Maybe we need to talk about them a little bit more. We'll go on a Saturday. More girls action on Saturday. Tough one for West Branch as Carrollton hits a half-court shot at the buzzer in overtime to beat the Warriors and continue the struggles of West Branch. 42-41 the final score there. We had a boys game. Mentor was able to beat Canfield in the United Way Classic down there at Poland. That was the first game of the day. Mentor won 56-43. And then in the second game of the day, what a treat this one was. Gerard edges out Mooney 44-43. Big win for the Indians. And Mooney is a team that had to play 2 games in 2 days, and that they both did, really. So you could say that they were on even ground. They both had to play Friday and Saturday, and it was an early Saturday game. I think it started at like 1:45. So really, you instead of like not even 2 games in 24 hours, you had 2 games in what is that? 7, 5. Trying to do the math, but 12. It's 2 games in 13. 13, then yeah, two games in 18 hours. Yes, okay. I think that would have been easier to subtract 6 from 24 instead of trying to add up all the hours. Oh, wow. Welcome to Monday, Anthony. Anyway, both teams had to play 2 games in about 18 hours, and definitely slow. Definitely a game they had to grind out. Gerard gets the impressive win, though, 44-43. Crestview got the win on the girls' side on Saturday, 62-39 over East Liverpool. They continue to impress. A buzzer beater in Louisville. We had 2 buzzer beaters on the network on Saturday. One went the non-Ysn schools way, and one went our way. Louisville, they get the 51-49 win over Perry, Maslin Perry, with a buzzer beater from Brooke Heron, the junior superstar for Louisville. Putting on that cape and being the hero, hit a 3 at the buzzer and gives them the win, 51-49. On the boys' side for Saturday, Warren JFK opened their season with the highest point total we've seen so far on the YSN family, 89-42. They get the win over Champion on the road. Big win for the Eagles. Back to the girls' side. This was when I was at, so I can talk about it a little bit more intelligently. Boardman gets the win 55-24 over Mooney at home. And I was really impressed with Boardman's ability to play defense in this game. They really locked down Mooney. Mooney is a team that likes to run in transition and get, your easy shots on the run. They're very athletic with players like Sophia Diorio and Olivia Rouser, who's not just a tall body and a big body to deal with down low, but also, fast, athletic. And then, of course, Maria Fire down low, really good shot blocker. Mooney has pieces. This is a 55-24 game. You look at it and think, well, okay, Mooney just didn't put up a fight. But really, Mooney has a lot of good basketball players, a lot of good pieces. The difference was this Boardman's ability to not just play one defense either. They really mixed up their defensive schemes. They threw in some zones here and there. They'd press and they go into man. It's hard to really adjust on the fly on like that for some teams. And Mooney just could not make adjustments. They couldn't get into the half court enough. They kept turning the ball over against the press. I felt like there was a stretch of the game, and I said this in the broadcast, where Mooney was actually winning in the half court. They were actually getting, your looks. They were getting what you wanted in the half court. The problem was they weren't getting into the half court enough because Boardman's pressured defense was just stopping them from even trying to set up the play. So Mooney had trouble breaking Boardman's press all night. And then when they didn't break the press, Boardman was able to throw different defenses at him in the half court. Couldn't get enough. On offense, Boardman got contributions from the bench. Reagan Smith came in off the bench, scored 16 for them to lead. I was talking to Jeff Hamilton after the game, and he was telling me that she had the best practice of the season. On Friday, they really felt like she was going to come off the bench and do something special. And sometimes you get that Nostradamus feeling, right? You get that crystal ball as the coach. And Reagan Smith definitely had a fantastic game for Boardman. Once again, 16 points. And, there's a chance to hear from her after the game and Coach Hamilton. If you head over to the game story on ysnlive.com, hear from both of them after that big win and hear what they had to say. You have a lot of post-game interviews this week. Great time to shout out our wonderful announcers that were able to get post-game interviews throughout the weekend. Ian O'Brien does a great job with his post-games. Matt Morrison has been getting post-games for us. So head over to ysnlive.com, check out those recaps, check out those stories, and then head over to our YouTube page and check out our interviews too. A great opportunity to remind you that our YouTube page is constantly updated. Just uploaded a couple of videos this morning. So you want to go out there, you want to subscribe, and you want to hit that notification bell so you never miss anything that we post on our YouTube page. We'll continue with some scores. United was able to beat Ursuline on the road, 40-35. Big win for the Eagles on the road against Ursuline. And I think that's one that kind of, solidifies them as a really big contender in the EOAC. But speaking of EOAC, Lisbon was able to beat Heartland 59-42. Big win for the Blue Devils. A battle of unbeatens in Poland. It was the third game of the day at the United Way Classic, I should say. Salem was able to pull away from Poland 53-40. These two teams were tied at halftime, tied after the first quarter, tied after halftime. But then Salem really just pushed their second half total, and I think outscored the Bulldogs obviously by 13 in the second half with the 13-point victory. Abby Davidson, what can you say about her? She's continuing her impressive season. She had 19 points to lead them. She's had double figures in every one of Salem's games so far. She's just when I watched her last Saturday, and I continue to watch her on YSN when they're on. You see an Abby Davidson that is finally healthy, almost like a wind-up toy last year. We saw her; she was a good basketball player last year. She was definitely important to that team. But you knew she wasn't 100%, right? She came off the knee injury during soccer season. So it was kind of like one of those things where you just kind of felt like she was contributing as much as she could. She was doing as much as she could, but you kind of knew last year that it wasn't the Abby Davidson that was the full potential. But now we're seeing that. We're seeing the wind-up toy finally go. And it's something to watch. Poland's defense is good. It's a good defense. It's always been a good defense. And they didn't have an answer. They couldn't stop her. She got what she wanted. against that defense. 19 points. Not a lot of people score that many points against Poland individually. They usually shut down individual scores. The teams that are able to beat Poland in the past, the last 4 or 5 years when they've had really, really good defenses and really good scheme defenses, are the teams that are able to put up 4 or 5 different players that can score 8 points, 9 points. Not a lot of players in the last 5 years have been able to drop close to 20 plus points on Poland. Dacian and Harris, obviously special players. He was able to do it a couple of times. Izzy Lamparty never dropped 20 against them, and they played her twice a year. So not a lot of players able to, like I said, not a lot of players able to explode and score like that against the Poland defense in the last 4 or 5 years. Abby Davidson, though, man, what a player! She's making her moves for Ysn Player of the Year, maybe. I know it's way too early to start talking about postseason awards, but definitely opening some eyes. There's a lot of talent in the area, but when you are on an undefeated team and you're in double figures every game, and all but one of those games you're leading the team in offense, it's something special. I know a lot of people thought Salem might be down this year. They lost 5 seniors, right? They lost 5 really important seniors, especially on the defensive side. And last year they won so many games with defense. You might have thought, okay, but they're gonna have to score more this year. Maybe this defense doesn't hold teams as much as they used to. But one, they're still playing really good defense, and 2, they're scoring. So they're scoring probably a lot more than they did in the first handful of games last year. Last year, their offense had a lot of games where they just relied on their defense. They said, hey, we're gonna allow less than 30. It doesn't matter if we score maybe 39 or 40. We're still gonna win by 10. This year, obviously, they're scoring a little bit more. Still relying on that defense. It's not taking any steps back. But they are scoring at a little bit higher clip. Their offense is showing a little bit more firepower. Maybe that'll help them make a tournament run. They were the team that made the longest tournament run last year. They were the only team that got to the regional finals. And we'll see what they're able to do this year with the same kind of defense and mindset, and a few more players that have gotten a little bit more confidence on the scoring offensive side of the ball. We'll continue some scores. East Liverpool boys were able to beat Laurel. That's a big win for East Liverpool. Laurel's a really good team. The Gators, really good basketball team. 55-48. Potters get the win. McDonald bounces back from a loss on Thursday to Springfield. They beat Latonia 49-30. We have Hathaway Brown girls beating Fitch at home. This was Fitch going on the road to Hathaway Brown. 54-48. That's a revived powerhouse. Hathaway Brown has a lot of state championships in their program history. Had a couple of years where they were down in numbers. They couldn't get girls to come back into the program. They were definitely struggling a little bit. And obviously they're rejuvenated now. 54-48. They beat Fitch at home. Brookfield was able to beat Columbiana over the weekend as well. 55-29, the final score there. The last game of the United Way Classic saw Ysn run away from Poland 65-45. Louisville was able to beat South Range at home on Saturday, 72-25. It's a tough one for South Range to play back-to-back games against Struthers and Louisville. Obviously, a little bit of fatigue and a little bit of inability to score in that second game after scoring so well against Struthers the night before. Big win for the Canfield girls as they welcomed in Stowe, a team that has given them a lot of troubles in the past, but not this time. 45-40, Canfield gets the win. That's one of those games that's kind of a what do you want to say? It's a prover. A prover, that's not a word. It's a eye-opener, whatever you want to call it. It proves that Canfield's legit. I think a lot of people were looking at the Canfield start to the season, obviously impressive, but then they look and say, okay, let's play a team that is on your level a little bit. Obviously, Mooney, Ursuline, and West Branch. West Branch should have been a good game, but they were just struggling. West Branch is in a struggle spot right now, so Canfield might have caught them at the right opportunity. And then Mooney and Ursuline were just not on their level. That was kind of clear. So, okay, let's welcome in Stowe Monroe Falls, a team that has beaten you a lot, and see how you do against that team. And Canfield said, okay, challenge, welcomed, and passed. Passed with flying colors. 45-40, the Canfield girls get the win. Struthers was able to beat Western Reserve on the boys' side on Saturday, 55-47. We have Garfield getting the win on the boys' side over Berkshire on Saturday, 56-53. Also on Saturday, the Edgewood boys got the win of 64-46. They are still undefeated. The boys and girls teams now are a combined 10-0 on the season in Edgewood. They're both putting together strong starts to the year. So those are all your scores from the weekend. Head over to ysnlive.com /anything. Just head over to ysnlive.com to check out all of the recaps and scores and stats from the weekend as well. See who did great and what players were really able to contribute to the wins, I should say, that those teams were able to get. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll have episode 2 of Coach's Corner with Nick Blanche for you, and we'll also go over some power rankings for you as well on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
As fine as the eye can see, the finest hardwoods from the finest trees. Made for your home and within your means, Baird Brothers will help fulfill your dreams. Let life and light come shining through in quiet morns. And heavy traffic, too. Find your easy-to-afford fine hardwood floors and doors and more at BairdBrothers.com.
Every customer has a story, and at Greenwood Chevrolet, we are committed to making sure it ends with you in the right vehicle. I get to be part of somebody's adventure, whether it's buying a car for the first time, helping them get approved, or finding the perfect car for their budget. I'm proud that people trust me with their finances. They trust me to take care of them, and they trust me with their story. I'm Tracy, and I'm ready to go the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you as always by that good friend up in the right-hand corner, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you. Excuse me. They go the extra mile for you, so we go the extra mile for everyone else here on Running Point and on YSN. Without further ado, we are going to go into episode 2 of Coach's Corner with Nick Blanche. Had a chance to talk with him last night about the great start of the season. The Poulin Bulldogs are 4-1. They have one win in the Indy 8, and they have a tough stretch coming up with some road games in conference at Niles tonight, at South Range on Thursday. So me and Nick talk about the start of the season, what he's learned about his team in the first 5 games, and we talk about the week ahead as well and what he expects out of the first road trip, not the first road game, but the first extended road trip that his team has to endure in the league against Niles and South Range. So we'll preview the week that was. We'll go over the week that we'll preview the week that is. We're going to go over the week that was. And this is Coach's Corner episode 2 with the Poland girls basketball coach, Nick Blanche. Anthony Hartwig here with episode 2 of Coach's Corner with Poland head coach of the girls side, Nick Blanche. Nick, thanks for joining us and welcome aboard.
Thanks for having me.
All right. The first time we talked to you, it was a season preview, of course. And, previews, you never know exactly what you're going to get. You have hopes of what you're going to get. You have expectations. But now here we are, a handful of games in the season. So the first question is, how have the first couple of weeks compared to back when we talked to you, what your expectations were?
Exactly what I had hoped for. A bunch of hardworking kids coming together and getting better as each day passes. And we are doing that. Girls are sticking together. I always preach attitude and effort. Those are the 2 things we talk about the most in here. Have a good attitude, always put forth a good effort, and whatever happens, we'll live with it. And they've been doing that. They show up. We got 5 great seniors leading the way. And like I said, just really excited with what's going on here. Has not disappointed in the least.
So I'm not going to have you break down every game that you've played. We'd be here for an hour, but I do want to go back to the season opener because season openers are always kind of special. Like I said, you don't know exactly what you're going to get when you put your team out on the floor. You've been scrimmaging, you've been playing against yourselves. What kind of things did you look for in that season opener, and what kind of things did you see that really made you even more confident in what this team could do this year?
Well, there was a lot going into that first game, which there normally is, but this year even more so with having 7 soccer girls coming back like a week and a half prior to that from their regional run. And then we went on and played Fitch. And thankfully we were at home, kind of calmed some of the nerves down. But that was our first game. That was their second game. So they had already worked through some of those things. And we got off to that nervous start. Girls were playing hard. We just couldn't get a shot to fall in the first quarter. We were 2 for 8 from the free throw line in the first quarter during that game. Missed a bunch of shots we normally would put in, and ended up working ourselves into a 14-point deficit. And then slowly but surely chipped away at it, got ourselves back into it, and was fortunate enough to pull that off against a very good Austintown Fitch team. Big boost for us, but also showed us what kind of team we had. Very resilient, dealing with adversity very well, not quitting when things got tough. The bench kept going for one another, and the kids on the floor never packed it in. So saw a lot that game and just confirmed what I believe we had, and just very pleased that we were able to pull that off. But even if we wouldn't have pulled it off, I told the kids I was still very proud of their effort for never giving up and playing a full 4 quarters. So, we're just one day at a time, but that was more nerve-wracking than normal with that late arrival of so many kids and trying to piece it all together.
Did you learn anything new from that first game that you didn't know going into it? Or maybe something like you said, okay, maybe we need to work on this a little bit more than I thought, or maybe we don't need to work on this as much as I thought, things like that?
Yeah, in the beginning of the season, even now, a couple weeks in, we're still have to work on everything. I mean, we're not perfect at anything by any means. But I did realize, depth-wise, who can do what in what situation and things of that sort in the pressure situation, and who was more comfortable, who we needed to work certain things on. Those kind of things I did. But as far as what kind of team we had, I just confirmed everything I believed.
All right, so now let's go fast forward a little bit into the season to the league opener against Girard earlier on Thursday. Obviously, the league is the first goal. You've talked about that every year we've covered you. The league is the first goal to check mark. A big first step. I know a lot of people came in thinking Girard would be a team that would give you a lot of trouble. You were able to beat them by 20. Your defense was just suffocating. How big was that first game of the league to get it under your belt and realize, all, in the locker room, realize that this is still right in front of you and the goal is still right in front of you to win the NE8?
Just confirming more things like we always talk about. It doesn't matter what others say. It doesn't matter what's going on outside the locker room and who thinks what. Eventually, everything changes and everybody just wants to be the first to call it when Poland crumbles, and they want to be there and be able to look back on it and say, see, I called this back before the season started, and we've been dealing with that for several years, and kind of like that. I mean, like I said, at some point we wish we'd get some more believers, but I guess that's part of it. And the journalism side of it is you got to make the headlines and make people want to read your post and share those things, and that's what we deal with. And the girls always take note in those things. And like I said, Girard is definitely a formidable opponent. They had 6 seniors, tough matchups for us. Quick wise, we had some things in transition we had to work on, and we did that and gave them fits, and hopefully we could do that again the second time we play them. But no doubt they are a good basketball team, and that was a very good win for us to open up league play with.
All right, so then you go into Saturday undefeated. Salem comes in undefeated. Everyone knew this was going to be a good matchup. You look at the two teams, you just know, they both have rosters that are filled with talent. What did you see out of this game? I know it kind of was close, and then Salem made some quick shots down the stretch to make it a little bit, wide margin of victory for them. But what did you see out of this game? Obviously, first loss of the season, never easy, but you have to move forward, like you've said before.
Yeah, very good challenge. United Way game. I love the United Way game because that also brings in a lot of money for our valley. So I'm always a fan favorite of this game. I embraced the challenge, told the kids at the end of the day, the worst thing that could happen to us is we lose a basketball game, which I've told them many times before. It's not the end of the world. Play hard, enjoy the moment, and I try to get girls basketball out there to as many people as we can. And I know a lot of people tune into the United Way, and I want to showcase girls basketball and let them know this is good basketball. It's aggressive basketball. And every year we try to get more and more people involved. Coach Hamilton's doing a great job over there as well. And we were with them, played right with them till the media timeout under 4 minutes in the fourth quarter. It was nip tuck back and forth, and then they just made some clutch shots down the stretch, and we weren't able to answer, but no shame in that. Kids played down to the very final seconds of the game, and like I said, we take today off, and then we go right back at it tomorrow. I mean, and we go at Niles, and we're back on the league track this week with Niles and South Range. 2 big games, and hopefully we can get back on track, which I'm sure we will, like I said. But I'm very pleased with what we did. A loss doesn't define us, and certainly going undefeated is not something that's a common thing for people to do. So we lost to a formidable opponent, but effort never ceased in our program.
We asked what you learned in the opener when the win against Fitch. Did you learn anything new with the loss? Did it expose anything that you thought that maybe, okay, we have to work on this a little bit more? Did you learn anything new from the loss to Salem?
I've got to do a better job rotating. It has nothing to do with effort or anything like that. I'm still trying to learn some rotations, toying with some different lineups and trying to find a way to get all these kids that can play on the floor, but I have to find a better way to rotate them where it's a better mixture than what I've done. So that's on me. That's nothing to do with them. And I'll work on that, and we'll continue to get better at that. But after the game, I mean, we walk in the locker room, and I've got my seniors telling the kids, hey, it's okay, pick it up. We'll be fine. Let's get our stuff back together. Keep working hard. Nice job. I mean, that's what I'm walking into my locker room listening to. So, to see that, again, just confirming what I know we can do, and that coming from the top with those seniors, very pleased. They knew not to hang their head, and we're not going to do those kind of things in here because it doesn't solve anything. So again, very pleased with what we're doing in this program, and to be out of the gates at 4-1, I'm ecstatic with that, and we'll see what goes on in the weeks to come.
All right, so you talked about rotation. It brings up a good point because, in several of your games, you've tried to mix and match people, put people in different parts of the game with different other people on the floor. How much have you tried to kind of just see, not just where to put girls in, but who to put girls in with and where they thrive the most with who on the floor, and try to figure out kind of what lineups work well for you guys?
Yeah, it's trial and error. I don't have all the answers, obviously, and it's just you put some out there. Some lineups work, some lineups don't work. We have girls back from injuries that now I'm trying to work in as well, and sometimes I put too many girls that are inexperienced with big varsity minutes in clutch situations, put too many of them on the floor at the same time. And that kind of backfires at times too. I've got to keep some experience on the floor as well. And I know in hindsight, it's easy to say, well, no, duh, like everybody knows that. But in the heat of the moment, you're trying to give people breathers because everybody's playing so hard. We're up tempo, we're full court, we're trapping, we're all running all over the place, and different people need breaks at different times. And so when you're trying to do that, plus juggle, getting different people in to mix it up, sometimes you just realize when you put them on the floor, like, oh, too many inexperienced on the floor at the same time. They're working their butts off. They just don't have that leadership on the floor that they need. And if they do, maybe just one veteran on the floor, and that's too much to put on one person to try and calm everybody down, get everybody in the right spot, things of that sort. So still trial and error on my part. And like I said, I take total fault on that, and we'll get better at it. And as the season goes on, we'll get it figured out.
If there is a game to give them that kind of experience, Salem's a good game for that, right? Because, you lose, but it's not a conference loss. So it's really almost unconsequential that you lost that game. Is it good to get those inexperienced players experience in that kind of game?
Yeah, because it's easy to make mistakes and not learn anything from them if you're up by 20, 25 points. I mean, but now when it costs you a possession and the other team cashes in on it, or we get a turnover and then we turn it over right back because we did something too fast, you know what I mean? Like, those are the types of things that I want the kids to know. Like, we get a steal, we dribble up the sideline, then they trap us on the sideline and we throw it away, or we travel. or we get a rebound and two people come flying at us and they're trapping us right underneath the hoop, and we panic and we throw it instead of pivoting, taking a dribble, and getting the ball swung out to the side. Those little things that kids need to learn in the heat of the moment. And then when it affects us, you want to make sure that they know it's okay. Like learn from it, move on. I don't want anybody getting down on themselves and thinking, oh man, I'm terrible, I stink, because it's very quick to see kids get down on themselves and tear themselves down. And that's not what I want, because nobody's perfect by any means. Everybody's going to make mistakes, and I tell them that all the time. Just be aggressive in it, learn from it, and try not to make the same mistake 2 times in a row. Do something different to make a mistake and then learn from that.
Let's preview your upcoming schedule. You return back to the league on Monday against Niles. You have a couple of road games in a row after having 4 of your first 5 at home. Niles and South Range are on the tap this week, both on the road. Talk about Niles first. I know they've already gotten a couple of wins under their belt. They look like they're really taking the right steps for their program in the right direction.
Yeah, Coach Bull is over there now. He's been in different areas over the years that I've been coaching, and he's done a great job over there. He's continuing to make them go forward. And we always start out slow at Niles. I don't know why, but every year we've played over there, it's always been a slow start for us. So they're going to throw different defenses at us. We just got to stay within ourselves and work on, taking care of the basketball, moving the basketball around, making some shots, crashing the glass, taking care of business as best we can. Our legs, we gave them the day off today, so hopefully we can get some rest on those legs. It's been a 3-game week this week. And then obviously we play again Monday. So from Monday to Monday, we'll have 4 games in. That's a lot. So again, our depth's going to have to be a little bit better. Our rotations are going to have to be a little bit better. And those are things I'll work on today and get everything set up for tomorrow. But league game, so I'm sure both teams are going to give each other their best shot, and we'll see what happens.
And now we move on to the South Range game. Obviously, in the past, in the last couple of years, this one's been the one that the league comes down to. It's always been you and South Range 1 and 2. They're the only team that has shared the NE8 with you guys. Obviously, on the road, it's a big game. What do you think about South Range this year?
Coach Fischel always has his team ready to play. I don't care what anybody says about anything. Those kids play hard, and whenever you got kids playing hard, you have a chance. He'll have them prepared. He knows us. We know them. And again, we're on the road this week, so we got to go to their place. We're going to focus on Niles first, but then when we get to South Range, we know what's coming our way. It's going to definitely be an intense physical battle. And the other night they played Hubbard, and they were down throughout most of the game, continued to battle back, down by double digits at one point, came all the way back, ended up winning the game. Just goes to show you they can deal with adversity, so the game's not going to be over until the final horn. And we're just excited. Like I said, we love going over there playing. We always know it's a competitive atmosphere, competitive game, and we look forward to that.
All right, Coach. That would be your week, right? So, what kind of things before we let you go are on the goal checklist this week that you want to see from your kids, whether it be in those games, in the practice this week? What are some things on the checklist for the week on the goals stand side from your perspective?
Continue to develop and learn the game. I mean, obviously, like I said, with kids coming back from injury recently, now we're trying to fit them in, get them caught up, get them more reps, get a lot more shots. Got to work on our free throw percentage. And those are all things that I have to do a better job incorporating into the practice plans and making sure that we're more prepared for these games coming up. But other than that, the attitude, the effort, the leadership that they've provided each other, the team chemistry, it's all where it needs to be. It's only going to get better from here. And I mean every word of that. These kids have been great. And like I said, they take a lot of stress off of me by just being the people I know they can be and the teammates I know that they can be. So I'm excited for that, to see that continue to grow. And then, like I said, this week we're just going to continue to work on rotations and then just learning the game a little bit more, situation work in practice, and just continuing to rep our defensive and offensive schemes, as well as working on our shooting and free throws.
All right, Coach, good luck this week. We wish you the best of luck. You know we love covering you. This was the Coach's Corner with Nick Blanche, brought to you by WRS Wealth Advisors. We thank them for their constant support as well. Coach, have fun this week. We'll catch you again next week.
Thanks a lot, Anthony. We appreciate it.
That was episode 2 of Coach's Corner with Nick Blanche. Always a great conversation with him, and Poland is 4-1 in the season. Once again, they will move on to more league play this week, all on the road, as they go to Niles tonight and they go to South Range on Thursday. As promised, I'm going to throw up these power rankings real quick. We'll talk about them real quick. Not going to dive into them too much. Power Hour will have in-depth analysis of the power rankings and some reactions to them, but I do want to get them up for you. And we'll start with the girls there. As you can see them up on your screen. Excuse me. Salem will be 1, Canfield 2, Garfield 3, Poland 4. Youngstown East, maybe the surprise of the season there at 5. Edgewood is 6, Crestview 7, Brookfield 8, Springfield 9, and then United with some impressive wins gets into it at 10. Some other teams that received votes in a Western Reserve was on the list as well. There are some really good teams that are just chipping away at that 11, 12, 13 spot, looking for an avenue into the top 10. I'm not too, no, you can't be too mad with this list at all. I mean, of course, I haven't been too many qualms. I think this is pretty straightforward. Salem's been the most impressive looking team so far. They've had more games than Canfield, so just a bigger body of work separating them between 1 and 2. You could argue that maybe Stowe's the most impressive win of the 2 team schedules, but you also look and say Salem has a couple of more wins under their belt that kind of give them a little bit, even up edge over that Canfield win. And Salem's been dominating. There's not been a second where you think Salem's not going to win these games. So Salem's been doing their job. They were the number 1 team at the end of last year's power rankings. I think they earned their spot there until someone takes it away. They have West Branch on Wednesday. That's a rivalry game. I think you throw out the records, you throw out everything that matters in that game, because Salem West Branch will always play hard against each other, and you see where they go. I think Garfield has been a team that has been surprisingly surprisingly dominant. A lot of players missed on that team. No more Jenna Smith, no more Sarah Seaman, no more Sydney Seaman. But they found other offensive avenues in Laura McCoy and Mandy Cardinal and Madeline Shirkey still running the point as a senior. So Garfield's looking really good. Poland sitting at 4 after the first loss of the season to Salem. Like I said, I think Youngstown East and Edgewood are probably the 2 teams that people might not have expected to be in the power rankings. Not Edgewood, not because of anything wrong. It's just because it's their first year under the Ysn banner. So we're kind of getting used to them and getting to know their programs, both their boys and girls, off to really good starts. And then Crestview, MVAC kind of rounds out the next 3. 2 out of the gray, 1 out of the scarlet. Crestview, Brookfield, Springfield right there for you. Crestview with a win over Springfield, but Springfield with a win over Brookfield. It's gonna get dicey. Those teams are gonna beat each other up. Obviously, Springfield's gonna have to go through an MVAC scarlet tier schedule that features Western Reserve and features Waterloo. Tough games there, and then Crestview and Brookfield are gonna have to play each other, and they're gonna have to play Garfield as well, who's sitting up there at 3. There's a reason that there are 4 MVAC teams in the rankings right now, and you could argue there's a 5th and maybe a 6th that are sitting right on that pedestal on the bottom. Not pedestal, but on the precipice is the word I was looking for, on the bottom. So we'll see how the season winds down and how the rankings get affected this week for these teams. We'll go into the boys' side, run it down for you. Ursuline is number 1. Badger gets number 2. They're a high-flying offense that has really dazzled some people. Lowville gets in at number 3. Austintown Fitch, impressive start to the season at 4. Canfield 5. East Liverpool 6. You have Edgewood, who's undefeated at 7. Howland at 8. Louisville at 9. Cheney rounds out the power rankings at 10. And remember when I said, remember that score on the boys' side? Obviously, Cheney was able to beat Howland 64-46 on Friday. Voting, yeah, like I said, everyone votes differently. I had Howland in as well. I think it's just that was Howland's first loss. I think it's a body of work thing. Cheney started the season 0-2. I think they're just kind of looking at that saying Cheney gets in for that win over Howland, but maybe not enough to muster them above. I think Louisville is a team that's going to continue to climb. They're going to have a tough schedule, so their record is never going to be like, hey, let's go to number 1, because you're going to have your lumps against their record. But when you look at Louisville, boys and girls aren't even on the list, if I'm not mistaken. Boys, girls, Louisville, because they've had a couple of losses. So yeah, I'm right. So Louisville and boys and girls are playing maybe the toughest schedule in YSN. with the independent schedule that they play and the fact that they're, Division I in boys basketball, Division II in girls, and they're trying to build up their resume and build up their tournament strength a little bit. So trying with a really tough schedule. Like no one on the girls' side has played Maslin, Jackson, Green, and then Maslin Perry. That caliber of schedule. And Louisville has come up with some big wins. Tough losses. Lost to Green, lost to Maslin Jackson. But some big wins as well. That buzzer beater over Maslin Perry, a good one. So I think you'll see those two teams climb as we continue the season. And I think you would expect to see Louisville on both sides, maybe top 5 by the end of the year. Who knows if it goes the way they want and they stay healthy. They both have a lot of talent, and that's for sure. They're both going to be hard to beat as the season goes on, and they're both going to continue to play really, really good teams, non-YSN teams that we have to gauge to see how much weight those wins carry. Because obviously, when they're not a YSN team, we don't know as much about them. So we're going to have to keep an eye on Louisville on both sides. But those are your power rankings, boys and girls. I am sure the Power Hour will go very deep into those opinions and break down the power rankings and reactions to that. I just wanted to get them up for you and let you know kind of where they are, where I stand with them and whatnot before we go into the preview of the night's games. We have a lot of action tonight on the girls basketball court. It is girls' night on Monday, and we have Canton Central Catholic traveling to Warren JFK. That is the first game on the slate. 5:30 is your tip-off. Noah Ricks will be traveling to Warren JFK for the call at 6 o'clock. These next couple are 6 o'clock starts, by the way. Edison will travel to Beaver Local. That's going to be Michael McKenzie on the call there. Then we will have United at Wellsville. Coy will be on the call there, 6 o'clock for that. Then we have Western Reserve at Waterloo, 6:15 start. Ty Bartell in there for that one. That's a big game at MVAC. MVAC Scarlet here. Both teams looking to win the MVAC, and that's a big one. Crush U at Champion. Big one on the other side of the MVAC. A lot of people think when Champion gets healthy, they'll be a team that gives a lot of people problems. Crestview obviously coming in hot with the win on Saturday, so we'll see how that one squares up. East Palestine will go to Southern. Chris Sigler will have the call on that one, 7 o'clock start time there. Garrettsville Garfield makes the trip to Camel. Eric Hughes will be making the trip with them. He'll be on the call for that one. Garfield is number 3 in our power rankings, looking to climb even further. Lakeview travels to Gerard, and Matt Mayer will be on the call for that one, 7 o'clock tip. Lisbon travels to Latonia. Noah Doty on the call for that game. McDonald will go to Middle Ridge. I'll be there at Middle Ridge for that one, my second chance to see the Middle Ridge girls and my first chance to see McDonald. Excited to see both of them. Struthers will go to Hubbard. David Williams on the call there. Valley Christian will travel to Columbiana. Eric Hopp will have the call for you there at 7 o'clock. And then last on the network, Poland will be at Niles. Ian O'Brien will have the call for that one. As once again, we just talked to Nick Blanche, and Poland looking to bounce back after their loss to Salem and stay undefeated in the NE8 with their road trip to Niles. Some of the games that are happening around the YSN family won't be on the network, unfortunately, tonight, but you still can go out and support these teams. South Range will travel to Jefferson. LeBray will go to Newton Falls. Those are both 7 o'clock starts. At 6 o'clock, Springfield will be at Sebring. And at 7 o'clock, Lordstown will go to Wyndham in girls basketball. I want to make a note that Liberty at Brookfield, which is a highly anticipated game, has been canceled tonight. That is not happening. So if you're looking at your schedule and you want to go to that Liberty at Brookfield game, it is no longer happening. It has been canceled. It'll be rescheduled to a date to be determined. But that'll be your girls basketball slate for the night. When I look at some games that I'm really looking forward to, other than tonight, the one I'm going to be at, I always try to look forward to the one I'm calling the most. But I think some other ones that are going to be really good. Obviously, Western Reserve Waterloo. I don't know how Ty continues to draw really big games. That'll be a fun one. He's going to get out of a final exam and be able to go call a really big matchup in the MVAC. I know Kerry English is back in the lineup for Waterloo, so that'll make that one, even more exciting because Waterloo at full strength. Brooke Shantz is obviously the big name for Western Reserve, but then you have Lisa Eichert, who's back and healthy. Remember last year, Lisa Eichert had to miss a big chunk of the season as well, so she's starting to get back into the rhythm of basketball. Olivia Hughes, a big player for them as well. So it's gonna be a really good game between the Blue Devils and Vikings. You have Rose Couch on the other end. You have Bailey English as well for the Vikings. 6:15 start time. Ty Bartel will have the call. I'm excited for that one. I'm still excited for Champion and Crestview. I think something might click for Champion when they start to get into league games and the weight's a little bit more, the emphasis of details a little bit more when you're in the conference. Obviously, you want to get conference victories. Champions had their struggles, that's for sure. They've tried to get healthy, but you never know. Those girls, they know how to win. They're definitely winners. And something might kind of click when the MVAC grade tier games start. And if that happens, then this could be a really good game. Crestview's a team that so far, their success has been really high, but they have struggled at the free throw line. So if Champion has a referee crew that lets them play a little physical and lets them, get Crestview at the line a little bit, maybe that can be a recipe for success. Who knows? We'll have to see. Going to be a fun one in Warren. Matt Morrison will be on the call in Champion in the Purple Palace down there with the Golden Flashes as Crestview comes to town. Should be a good one. Should be a fun slate of games on the network. The total is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 games on the network tonight. It will be a fun night of basketball. That is one thing that you know for sure. I want to preview one more thing before we let you go. As tonight, there will be at 5:30 for interviews with the boys basketball team with head coach Keith Gunther. You'll be able to hear from Terrence Pankey. You'll be able to hear from Nick Bako and Vincent Flano as well at the Golden Dawn. So we will be back at the Golden Dawn tonight. We had football there all season. It was a great job, great atmosphere to be at. And we'll be back at the Golden Dawn for basketball season starting tonight with head coach Keith Gunther. So it's going to be a fun trip there too. If you want to go to Ursuline and check out their boys basketball program, check out some really good interviews with them. So that's tonight. Girls basketball, 13 games on tonight as well. Tune into whatever you please. It's all on ysnlive.com. It's all free. Thanks to our wonderful sponsors. And we'll be back tomorrow from 1 to 2 on Running